Hello, fellow yogis. Welcome to a seated class using the lower extremities. If you have one lower extremity, you might do this class and forego the repetition on the second side, or repeat your lower extremity side. Let's begin with the feet planted on the floor. Hopefully, when those feet really reach the floor, you can use that as a cue to sit up a little bit straighter, taller, and release the shoulders down. Engage the abdomen, bringing the belly back in just slightly, but don't let it affect the ease of the flow of the breath. Feel the sit bones rooting down as the torso and crown of head rise up toward the ceiling. Allow the flow of breath to be deep and calming. Let's all look to the right, then drop the chin down, look to the left, and then look up toward the ceiling. We'll look to the left, drop the chin down, look to the right, and look back up toward the ceiling. And let the chin come forward again in this more natural way of being seated. I'm going to move my chair back a little bit so that I can sit forward on my seat, still very safely, but I'm sitting forward on my seat so I can bring the right heel onto the floor and reach the arms up overhead. I'm extending that foot, that right foot, really stretching the calf muscle by bringing the toes back toward the knee. Leave your hands up overhead, bring that leg in, send the left leg long. Keeping that energy of the arms reaching up, up, up. Let's keep the arms up, bring that left leg in, send the right leg out again. Now we can drop the hands down to heart center with a little bowing action forward. You'll notice, I hope, that you need to really have some energy pressing into the sole of the left foot as we repeat this bowing forward and coming back up again. Still have the attention on that extended right leg so that you can really have good flexation in the ankle. We'll come all the way back up to center, reach the arms up overhead, bring that leg in, let the other leg go long, drop the hands down to heart center, and we're repeating the bowing action, coming forward and back up. I know the back rounds a bit. We're trying to have a nice straight, long spine as we bow forward and come back in again. And one more time, bowing forward, coming back up. Let's release the hands down. And I'm going to walk my right foot over to the left a little bit so I can easily cross my legs, holding onto the chair, keeping the spine lifting, or I should say the chest lifting. Now I'm bowing forward and coming back up. And I'm repeating this a few times. If you're not supposed to cross your legs, please don't. You can just have both feet on the floor as you come forward with a rounded spine. One more time with a bow forward, coming back up again. We'll untangle the legs, moving left foot a little bit over to the right, crossing the feet there, and then bowing forward and coming back up. If you need to replace where your foot is on the floor, please do that, if that makes it feel a little bit more secure. There's always a real sweet spot for that foot on the floor. Coming all the way back up, let's untangle the feet. I'm still sitting a little bit forward in the chair. My thigh muscle is still underneath that where the hamstrings attach. It is on the chair. Reach the arms up overhead. Right hand holds left wrist, coming over into a side bend, keeping that left hip heavy and back up. And let's go to the second side. Coming over, 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 and back up. Bringing the arms all the way down. And I really do prefer that you hold on to the chair as best you can. Find that long spine, and we're bringing this into a march. A seated march to work on strengthening the low back, the hamstrings, but mostly those two hip flexors. You have two on each side, and they're really important for going upstairs, for stepping onto a curb, for stepping over a log, even for getting into the car, quite frankly. You know how we have to lift up the legs to get the legs into the car. So we're sitting up as straight and tall as possible and doing this march. We're really exhausting those hip flexors. For some of you, this might not be terribly exhausting, but let's do a little more of that, allowing the foot to hover over the floor. Let's bring that foot down. Let the other leg hover, hover, hover. That exhausts them pretty fast. Put it back down. And now we're coming up onto the backs of the toes and down. Up to the backs of the toes. I'm going to turn my direction. You don't have to turn, but I'm doing this so that you can see I'm coming up into this position they call releve in ballet. It's getting the fronts of the ankles to really open up. And certainly stretching the fascia on the soles of the feet. And this is a little bit awkward for me, but I'm going to stretch 1 foot long and really flex that foot back. And this is important because as we walk and we get older, there's a little less strength in the foot to pull itself back, and we want the availability to do that. Let's rest that foot. I said it's awkward because this seat isn't exactly level, so it's hard for me to get this heel down on the floor with a straight leg. But you get the idea that I want that ankle really well flexed. I'm going to turn this way because it works better for extension of the leg, which I'm hoping you can feel. An even, steady flow of breath. Really keep that working, working, working as best you can. And we'll bring that back in, opening up the legs, hands on the open legs, dropping forward until you can get your elbows, or not really your elbows, but the inside edge of the lower arm down. And we're coming into this forward bend, but the arms are on the legs to help protect the low back, but still get this big stretch. Press your feet down into the floor mightily. So you're really, this is a whole body experience, really feeling that strength of the body and the ease of the flow of the breath once again, because we're really trying never to lose that. Let's press ourselves all the way up to a seated position. Bring the legs together. Again, I'm bringing my hips forward, holding onto the chair, and I'm going to circle around my right leg 2 times in one direction, 2 times in the other direction, and then go to the second side. 2 times in one direction, 2 times in the other direction, and then I go back 2 times in one direction, 2 times in the other direction, and last time 2 times in a circular direction, and the other way, and down. And then I'm going to step my foot to the side and back in, to the side and back in. And repeat that action a few times, going from side to side, helping us use those abductors and adductors. And now I'm bringing my seat back a little bit so we can go into something that's very familiar to us, which is cat-cow. And in class, I don't talk about this very much, but as we do this motion, really feel for your feet being planted down on the floor as you go through and articulate through the vertebrae of the spine as best you can. And coming back to a neutral spine, we'll bring the hands behind the back body, holding onto either wrist, And again, folding forward and coming back up. Now I'm seated far enough forward that I really can get my shoulders behind the plane of my hips, and I can feel this area of the deep core working as I do this. Take a break if you need to. After you've done this video many times, if you ever choose to do that, you'll get used to this action. But the first few times doing it, you really might need to take a break. I'm going to continue with this action, but I'm going to hold the opposite wrist. It doesn't make that much of a difference. Certainly it doesn't make much of a difference to my center of gravity, but there's always this little subtle change that happens whenever anything changes in the body. Coming back up to seated, bringing the hands forward, and again, something we're very used to, few nice, slow shoulder shrugs. Up and down. And let's do one at a time. Nice and slow. So hopefully we don't start to build up too much tension in the shoulders. And then we'll rotate the shoulders, bringing them forward, up toward the bottoms of the earlobes, bring them back and down, all the way around. And let's reverse that direction. And one more time all the way around. I'm making sure I'm sitting far forward in my chair. I'm holding on to my chair, and I'm going back to that marching action. If you prefer hovering the foot over the floor or just doing really small marches, that's fine. I'm doing a little bit more because when I do lift the knee up higher, I am getting a bigger strength activity, certainly for those hip flexors, but also for the low back. One more time to each side if you're following along with what I'm doing. And then I'm bringing the hands together at heart center and twisting to the right and holding that twist. The gaze soft, the breath flowing. Let's come out of that twist over to the second side. And holding the twist, if you're thinking, oh, I can't wait for this to be over, end it now. You don't have to stay in or come out of the twist just a little bit. We're all coming out of the twist now. So we can drop the lower arm onto the legs, kind of in that bracing fashion. I'm separating my feet apart enough so that they're really parallel to one another. Dropping the left arm down and then swooping it up very slowly and seeing if my gaze can look up at that hand. If it's not comfortable for your neck, don't do it. And then press energy down into your braced arm over the legs so you're really reaching up as far as your body will allow, but still keeping the arm attached to the legs. Let's drop that hand down. Go ahead and brace on the second side. And you can tell I'm lifting up my chest a little and then raising the arm up. And I'm continuing to reach up even though I'm keeping my elbow down on my legs. And finally, bringing that arm all the way down. Get your spine in the center, the midline of the body. That's the same thing as we come up to a seated position. I'm going to hold the chair again, and I'm going to extend one leg forward and then the other. I'm just repeating this action, attempting to get my knee as straight as possible and still working on that flexation of the ankle so that I feel it right into the calf muscle. And the heel is touching down on the floor. I'm coming a little bit out of the frame here, but it's definitely touching down as I extend the legs forward. The next time that right leg is extended forward, I'm bringing my arms out to the sides. I'm making sure that I feel very stable here as I slowly twist over to the left, come back through center, Slowly twist to the right, back to center, drop the arms down, and holding onto the chair gives us a little bit of stability. Draw that foot in, go over to the second side. Leg long, spine straight, arms out to the sides. This time, very slowly, twist over to the right, and we're holding that twist for a moment. Coming back through center, nice and slow. And let's come over to the second side. And back to center. You'll be very happy to drop those arms down, retract that leg in, and we're heel-toeing our feet open again. I'm going to scoot my hips back a little bit, dropping down again onto the lower part of the arms, right below the elbow, keeping more or less a good strong spine, and then dropping the crown of the head down toward the floor. Go ahead and lift up the chin. Walk the hands all the way back. Bring the legs in together. Hands together at heart center. Anjali Mudra. Namaste. Thanks for joining. See you again next time.